Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Devils United. Here to do a transfer show. I wasn't initially planning to do it on my own, but I am. Thank you all who's been waiting for 10 minutes. I am sorry for the delay, but we've got plenty to go through. I've only narrowed down up to 4 scoops for Man United, because let's be real, right? Manchester United, we're literally interested in everybody. I think we literally seen it on Twitter, right, where 150 players were linked to us this summer. So if I don't know 150 players, let's be honest, guys, I will be taking all night to do this show. So I've narrowed it down to 4 possible transfers, ingoing and outgoing. So it'll be a mixture of both. Good evening, Luca. Thanks for coming in. Hope you are well. Good evening, Rather. Big up with more scoots and an ice cream man with a transfer news going in like Fabrizio. To be honest, Rather, I'd like to be compared to David Ermstrom. I like a bit of David Ermstrom. Do you get what I mean? Like, he is the reliable guy. Just as Ravi said, smash the like, subscribe. You do it all, guys. I think English tax is a thing of the past. When you look at it, how many players is costing regardless of the country in the league they are from? Absolutely spot on there, Rather, in my personal opinion. You look at the 10 most expensive transfers in Premier League history, there's more players from different leagues than there is English. So it is just showing that it's not just the fact of what country you're from, the length of contract you're on, the club you're coming from, how much that club values you at. That's lots of different things what gets taken in consideration. Good evening, Niall. Thanks for coming in. Hope you are well. Good evening, Paul. Thank you for coming in. Hope you are well. Liverpool signed Big Mac, and I'm not talking about that dry burger from McDonald's. Thoughts on Arsenal having a gentleman's agreement for both Rice and Moses Caicedo? That's a very good question there from Niall. To be honest, in terms of both Declan Rice and Caicedo, it could be Caicedo. Apparently they've bidded for the same amount as what they bidded in January, so most likely that is gonna get declined. In terms of Declan Rice, though, will be very interesting. Dan's here now. Hi, Dan.
Hi, evening. You okay?
I'm fine. Are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Where are you up to? I'm sorry, I'm a bit late.
So I was just going through the comments.
All right, no worries.
Hey there, Niall. Thanks for coming in. Hope you are well. Hey there, Reese. Thank you for coming in. Hope you are well. Hey there, Twa Lumber. Thanks for coming in. Hope you are well. Hey there, Julio. Thanks for coming in. Hope you are well. The Scousers have already milked the hell out of that bull crap he rejected a United card for McAllister. Yeah, that's very, very true. Yes, so there is quite a lot of transfers, isn't there, Dan? Because you know what it's like from Man United. We're always linked to loads of players every single week, and probably every day, in fact. So I have narrowed it down to a few. So do you want to start with the incoming, or do you want to start with the outgoing?
Whichever one you want. I'd say incomings, because that's probably the most recent news we've got. I'd say with obviously like Mason Mount and stuff. So yeah, we'll go into the incomings first.
Yep. We'll start off with the one that Ravi has mentioned in the chat regarding the Napoli defender. Don't say Mount. Okay, Julio. I'll be on my best behaviour. We'll start with Kim Min Jae. So here is the most recent update from Kim Min Jae. Kim Min Jae to Man United is very close. Personal terms agreed. Man United will trigger RC in July. Man United Maguire is expected to leave, so Man United can fund the move. Premier League clubs have had talks to take Maguire off Man United's hands. What's your thoughts on that link for you, Dan?
For me, Kim Min Jae is probably one of the best centre backs in the world at the moment, especially over the last season. I mean, considering Napoli only bought him from that Turkish club last season, He's had a brilliant season, and obviously he's won his first league title with Napoli. Napoli haven't won a league in over 30 years, and he's been a massive part of their success. Only him and Wan-Bissaka are the only players in the top 1% of dribblers tackled. So if we were to get him, he's pretty much like the defensive. He's a wall almost, and I think that he's something like a younger Varane almost, but I feel like he's actually better than Varane. So for me, I personally feel like that if we were to have a midfield partnership of Kim Min-jae and Martinez, or Kim Min-jae and Varane, or Kim Min-jae or Varane and Martinez, like it has been this season, I personally feel like that United could definitely step up a level, and I would defend. And Eric Ten Hag, this season alone, he's built everything on defence this season. So that's why United have been so successful. And I feel like adding a player with the quality of Kim Min-jae will just make us even stronger.
Absolutely, I completely agree with that. I think Kim Min-jae is a fantastic centre back. I think if people didn't watch the Italian league, statistics as well just really says it all about him. I think for me, with Kim Min-jae, he's fantastic with his tackles, great with his interceptions. He's very quick type of centre back. And I said it on a show yesterday when I went on a calling show. Varane, I think, is an outstanding player. He's world class. There's no doubt about that. And I think for me, with Kim Min-jae, he's still only very young, and he is able to learn off Varane. I'm not gonna say like throw him in the deep end this season, but bring him in the odd starts and then let him be a starter from the following season.
Yeah, I agree with that. Obviously, Kim Min-jae, I mean, he's what I think he's 26. I think he is. So with Kim Min-jae, like, I think Martinez is about 24, 25. So even if you take Varane out of that equation, you probably have a good partnership there for the next 6 to 7 years, which is what United need. It'll be like a partnership like Rio and Vidic, where the two, like when it comes to defensive duels and everything, they're both very good, but they both have certain traits that the other one doesn't that will actually complement to each other. So I feel like it'd be a great partnership. And Varane, for me, I love him to bits. I think he's a brilliant centre half. And obviously, last season, in his first season for United under Ole and Rangnick, it wasn't the best start-out season for him. But this season, he's definitely proved that Real Madrid did make a mistake by letting him go. But with Varane, it's been a bit of an issue this season that he has been injured a few times. He has missed a few games, and it doesn't seem that he can play 2 games every single week. So when we lose, like when we have to bring in a player like Maguire or Lindelof, the quality does dip there. But even if Varane was to be the starting centre back, like you said, and then they could be the games, like you said, that Kim Min-jae could be implemented in, and then he can start working his way up in the team. So I do feel like that if we do get Kim Min-jae, it'll be a brilliant signing.
Absolutely. Yep, I completely agree with that as well. Niall thinks that there could be a potential bidding war for Kim Min-jae, because I'm not too sure if you've seen that Newcastle are also interested in signing Kim Min-jae. Do you feel like there could be a bidding war? Because I know it's regarding release clauses at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, a bit of breaking news here. I don't know if you know about this, but breaking news today that the Newcastle owners are only giving Newcastle 75 million to spend this summer. So realistically, that's not a lot considering they've recently just been promoted to the Champions League. So for me, I feel like, I mean, United have already agreed personal terms with Kim Min-jae. They've held multiple phone calls and conversations, and personal terms are agreed. And we're just waiting to activate this release clause, it seems, which is valid from the 1st of July to the 15th of July. So, and that's for I think it's about £42 million, so about 47 million euros or something. So for me, it's definitely, I don't think it'll be a bidding war. I think it'll be whoever agrees personal terms first, which is what United have already done. I don't think the transfer fee is anything short of, because it seems that when it comes to like the Harry Kanes and Mason Mounts is where we're going to see stalls on these transfers. I mean, you look at Liverpool with McAllister, they've activated a release clause straight away to make sure they're not involved with these bidding wars. And definitely, I feel like United need to avoid that with Kim Min-jae by getting his signature done the 1st of July.
Absolutely. It's going to be really interesting as well, considering you've said Newcastle only have 75 mil to bid to spend in the summer, because realistically they want Scott McTominay, they want James Maddison, so you'd think just based off 2 players the budget could potentially have been gone.
Yeah, exactly. But obviously, don't forget outgoings with Newcastle as well. But
Yeah.
again, they don't really have any massive players like that they won't sell. I mean, obviously Sven Botman and Bruno Guimaraes, you could probably get a lot of money for them, but they're the star players and they will not be sold. I'd say probably their best player that they probably sell is maybe a Callum Wilson or maybe a Saint Maximin,
Mm-hmm.
but or maybe an Anthony Gordon. I'm not too sure, but I feel like that Newcastle have kind of achieved new Champions League too quickly. I haven't put them in. I mean, obviously this is way off in the future, but I haven't put Newcastle in my top four for next season. I think that it's just been a complete lucky season for them, and I don't think they're ready. Yeah, I think everyone's overhyped them massively.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Hey there, Liam. Thanks for coming in. Hope you are well. Hey there as well to Andrew. Thanks for coming in. Hope you are well. United should sign the following initial list: Raya, Kim, Frankie De Jong, Mao, and Hogeland. I can't pronounce his name. I'm shocking at names.
Hodgland.
Thank you. Thank you for that. To our lumber, thoughts on Maguire. I will get onto that. Don't you worry about that, to our lumber. And hey there, Static. Thank you for coming in. I hope you are well. So we do know, for instance, that Kim Min Jae is to come to Manchester United. We know there is going to be an outgoing, which we've already slightly touched on, which is Harry Maguire. And news has come out today with Harry Maguire that he does not want to leave Manchester United.
Shock. With Maguire, it's one of them like Eric Ten Hag doesn't rate him, and I feel like that Harry Maguire wants to stay at United for the sake of staying at Man United, just to say that he's a United player. Because realistically, you look at when Martinez and Varane got injured after the Seville game. Eric Ten Hag literally moved Luke Shaw back to centre back and played Lindelof. Harry Maguire is literally like fifth choice centre back. Eric Ten Hag will literally move our left back to centre back because he thinks that he can play a better performance than Harry Maguire. I personally feel like Harry Maguire is a good player. I do think he's very overhated in our fan base.
Yeah.
But you look at him for England, he plays to such a slow tempo, very deep defensive type team, and that's where he plays well. So realistically, I feel like that Harry Maguire, the best place for him to go is definitely like a West Ham, maybe. But West Ham are interested in him, so I don't know why these reports aren't coming out as soon. Obviously, you read it in the paper talk, you read it on like all these different journalists on Twitter. But Harry Maguire might want to stay at Man United because obviously you don't want to leave Man United. It's one of the biggest clubs in the world, if not the biggest club in England. And Harry Maguire's definitely made it. He's on £200,000 a week, literally sitting on the bench, and I think he's now accepted that's his role. He's not club captain anymore. And he's lost the respect of Eric Ten Hag. He's lost the respect of majority of the players, and he's probably just a bench warmer for me. And that's how I think majority of the team sees him.
Yeah, I do think for me, the thing is with Maguire, you see Maguire, he's so much better in that back three system with two defensive midfielders in front of him. And you've seen that Tottenham are interested in Harry Maguire. And personally, for me, Tottenham is probably one of the better choices for him. Just knowing the system that they have set up, we don't know if that system, of course, is going to be remaining the same when it does come to the new manager, the Celtic manager. We don't know what kind of system he's going to set up. Is he going to stay in the back three? Is he going to move to the way that Celtic play in the Scottish League? So that's going to be very interesting. I think the thing is with Maguire, he was good in his first season. Don't get me wrong, he was very, very good. And literally before that Europa League loss, we was worried about the Europa League final, saying Maguire's injured. What are we gonna do with Lindelof and Bailly playing? Like we haven't got Maguire playing, and we got worried about it. So I think he's definitely had some good times, but I think several things that Maguire doesn't help. I think one thing that probably hasn't helped him at all is that armband. Not that it's his fault he's got the captain's armband, because at that moment in time, for me, there wasn't anyone else who should have got the captaincy. I couldn't have thought of a leader when Harry Maguire first got it, but I also think he should have been took off it after that Greece incident as well. but that's not any fault of his. That's the fault of the management at that point. Another one who I do. Another thing with Maguire is some of the comments he comes out with, like when he says, "Oh, I'm like every time I played, I've had a clean sheet." It's just them little kind of things, and you know that it's gonna irritate the fan base by saying things.
Yeah, I mean, with Maguire, obviously, he never says the right things. He, like you said, he like that clean sheet situation. You think back to when he scored against England and he slid on his knees and did that, like silencing the haters and stuff. He doesn't help himself, and then he wonders why he gets a load of backlash. And it's not just for his performances; it's what he does off the pitch as well. Like it again, he just hasn't helped himself. And I've just googled there about the Spurs manager's tactics for Rangers, for Celtic, and he plays similar to a 4-3-3, but in build up in possession, they go to a 3-2-4-1 formation, kind of like how Man City and Pep Guardiola done. It won't be as efficient as Pep Guardiola and Man City, but you know, there is thoughts there that they will play a back three when attacking. So maybe Harry Maguire could fit in there, but you know, I still feel like that if Harry Maguire was to stay, then unfortunately I feel like that Lindelof would go, because it's clear that Erik ten Hag wants Kim Min-jae desperately. And, you know, I would personally make that sacrifice. Whether Lindelof or Maguire goes, I rate Kim Min-jae so highly that either of them aren't good enough to lace his boots. So whoever goes, I personally feel like that it's a good bit of business, and maybe you could actually get more money for Lindelof because he's actually played really well towards the end of the season.
Speaking of Lindelof as well, Fabrizio did say today, Erik ten Hag has never changed his position on Victor Lindelof. He's untouchable. Same message sent to Atletico and Inter last January, still valid now. Frankfurt were never in concrete talks with Man United. Atletico and Inter were keen on signing him, but no chance. So that just shows to me that that it's gonna be Maguire going or nothing. And you've even seen the recent, I don't know if you've seen it last week, where it was like Man United are willing to pay 10 million to Maguire for him to leave. I think if you know, like, I understand he wouldn't want to leave because of his wages. He's not gonna get. I'd say he's probably not gonna get a big contract like that ever again. Not at all. So I can understand why he wants to stay in that kind of respect. He can see that what's going on with Ten Hag. We've improved massively, but you look at the likes of one I'm going to compare with, not by ability, but Chris Smalling. Chris Smalling knew he wasn't getting respected in that Man United squad. I think for me, I actually didn't mind Chris Smalling. I think he was quite underrated. But nearer to the end, he wasn't liked, let's be real, by the fan base, I personally say. He moved away. And now he's won the Europa Conference League. He's got into the final of the Europa League. He's doing well in Serie A. He was probably one of the best centre-backs this season for me in the Italian league, and very unlucky to get in that England squad. And I think for me, it's probably the best move for Maguire altogether to maybe even to get out of Manchester, the North itself, just for a bit of a fresh start. If no other Premier League club wants him, for instance, like, have a look at different leagues, because maybe the Italian league might do pretty well for him.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, every time you say to a United fan about, oh, what league do you think will be good for a team like Maguire, for a player like Maguire, you normally do say the Italian league, because realistically, Maguire needs to have time on the ball. He needs to be able to take his time, and that's why, you know, you see him not working in this Ten Hag system. I mean, you think back to the Seville game when we went to Spain. Personally, that everyone blamed David De Gea for that first goal we conceded. But when you want him to play out from the back, which is what Erik ten Hag has demanded from all his players this season, for me, there's nothing wrong with that pass from David De Gea. He's done it to many times with the likes of Lisandro Martinez, Varane this season. Maguire gets caught in possession because he asks for the ball, and then De Gea gets the scrutiny. And for me, David De Gea and Maguire are probably the most hated players in our fan base, which is, for me, I don't see why we should hate any of our players. They're all Manchester United players, and whether they play one game a season or 50 games a season, you know, they all contribute their own ways, and they're there to be involved in the team when they're needed. And unfortunately, Harry Maguire is very low down in the pecking order. But just while we're going live as well, Central Devils on Twitter have said that United are in well positioned to sign Kim Min Jae. His release clause, €47 million, is only valid for the first 2 weeks of July, which we've already covered. So, again, there's no mention of Newcastle here, so hopefully we're in the clear for Kim Min Jae.
Yep, it's literally just got announced 4 minutes ago, hasn't it, regarding Kim Min Jae, which is great that you've touched on there as well. And it looks like it got announced by Fabrice Hawkins. Not too sure how reliable he really is, but if he is to be the case, then I will be really, really looking forward indeed to seeing Kim Min Jae at Man United. I do also agree, though, with what you have said about the players not being about being hated. I think for me, there isn't a line with the fan base. It's kind of like you can be critical. You can look at a player and go, "You wasn't at your best. You was it. You don't like this is what you've done wrong here." But some people go to the over extremes. For me, in my opinion, and I said as much as I don't like the way Maguire has been in terms of his DA situation and the comments he makes. I would still never go onto social media and giving grief. I wouldn't ever write on his chat on his Twitter leave or stuff like that. And I remember when he was literally saying a message to the Man United women's team on their FA Cup final. A lot of people were just slacking off Maguire for doing a video. That's how it just got to the point.
Yeah, it is ridiculous, and obviously, like you said, you can criticise players. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you literally, I mean, think back when he got sent a bomb to his house and they had that bomb threat, like that's ridiculous. Like that should never be happening. That's where obviously things go over the extreme. Obviously, you can criticise players, but it seems that when it comes to certain football fans, they go over the top. I mean, you think back to the FA Cup final that United lost 2-1. Obviously, don't want to mention it, but obviously that United fan was arrested because they had that Liverpool mocking shirt, which is disgusting. And that represents United fans, and that's something that me as United, and I always speak for myself, that I don't want to be associated with. So obviously you can criticise players till you're blue in the face, but definitely I feel like there is a limit, and they are players that, and if you do back, like majority of United fans, 99% of United fans back Eric Ten Hag, and whether Eric Ten Hag starts Phil Jones, Harry Maguire, or Lisandro Martinez, people say they back Eric Ten Hag, so back every decision he makes, whether it's us linked to Mason Mount, whether it's us linked to Kim Min Jae, like all these players. Even if we were linked to, I don't even know, like Scott Carson, like something like that, like if Eric Ten Hag wants that player, then you back him. Don't be a hypocrite. Is my words anyway.
Absolutely. I'm one of them. If Ten Hag wants him, I'm happy. That's what matters for me. We'll go on to a couple of questions before we do the last two links. Question from Niall: is there any more news about Harry Kane being linked to United? I don't know if Ange will keep or sell him, who's just not long come in the door after leaving Celtic. I think for me at this point, I think it's getting less likely just because we've seen how much Daniel Levy is. He's not wanting to lose Maguire for any less than 100 mil. Real Madrid are also interested in him. And I think, if anything, Real Madrid are going to be the more likely ones who can afford him. But I just think for me is this is the thing is, if you want to leave, you need to force your way out. If you don't want to be at the club, just as Terry Sheringham has said, force your way out because you're not going to get out of that club otherwise. What's your thoughts, Dan?
With Harry Kane, I mean, I'm just Googling it because I'm pretty sure I saw reports that Real Madrid are now starting to back off Harry Kane because they've spent massive money on Jude Bellingham. They're now linked to Lautaro Martinez from Inter Milan, and they're also linked to Kai Havertz. So obviously, Real Madrid have been given the green light to sign Harry Kane, but if they want to, they have just spent massive cash on Jude Bellingham. So it really depends if they want to sign Harry Kane as well. And if Harry Kane was to go to Real Madrid, then obviously that's down to Harry Kane. He's guaranteed to win trophies. But as well, I feel like that United should have been aware of this instead of everyone getting hyped about Harry Kane, about how United he's going to make United brilliant. Think back to when City tried to sign him before they got Jack Grealish and Erling Haaland. That they obviously they were trying to negotiate, trying to get him off, and Daniel Levy was just like he just wouldn't allow it. So it's clear Daniel Levy wants to hold on to Harry Kane as much as possible, but again, for me, I don't know why they don't accept the bids because Harry Kane wants to stay in the Premier League to break the all-time goal scoring record. He loves the Premier League. He's pretty much the perfect Premier League striker, and he's adapted in every scenario. And the fact that he scored 30 goals in a terrible season for Spurs this season is absolutely exceptional. So for me, I personally feel like with Harry Kane, it would be gutting if we did miss out on him, but you know, it's one of them situations where it's like Darwin Núñez and Cody Gakpo from last season. You know, we want these players, but it's down to the board at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the thing is, we don't know realistically how much our budget is either, especially with the current ownership situation. So we definitely need a striker. That's 100% what our first priority for me. It has to be up there. But to be honest, is if for instance I've been reading no less than 100, no less than 200. If Daniel Levy's not willing to negotiate, we need to back off very early into this transfer window. We don't want another Frankie de Jong all over again, and then waste the majority of our transfer window trying to get somebody who didn't want to come to us in the first place, just for us then to panic in the last few weeks of the transfer window. Not that, like, to be honest, like Casemiro was a much better option anyway, but we still really panicked in the last few weeks, and you can see the fans were getting angry.
Yeah, and obviously we know what happened. The only reason we signed Casemiro was because we were linked to Frankie de Jong for like 2 months, and then they were like, "Here's Adrian Rabiot." Like, you know, and United fans just uproared about it, and then eventually John Murta somehow pulled that deal out of nowhere. And considering we weren't linked to Casemiro, it was for me it's one of the luckiest signings we've ever made. Like Casemiro is absolutely brilliant, and obviously we love Casemiro, but he did have a shaky start to the season with Man United. He wasn't the best. He was very out of form with match fitness because Erik ten Hag wouldn't play him. So I mean, you remember when we played Man City at the Etihad and we lost 6-3. Casemiro and Ronaldo were both sat on the bench. Like,
yeah. I think he was easing him in, wasn't it? I think overall it was probably the right choice because we've unlocked a beast, let's just say.
Yeah, we have indeed.
Question from Niall as well. Would you take Dumfries?
No.
I agree. You know what? Like, I've been very critical of Dalot, and I'd rather keep Dalot with the 5-year deal than take Dumfries, to be honest. Like, I think I did say the right back was a priority, but not now, because Wan-Bissaka's the best season of his life, and Dalot signed a 5-year extension. So what would be the need of signing another right back?
Yeah, I agree on that, and obviously I do really rate Denzel Dumfries. I mean, he is doing really well for them, but I believe Darmian did take his place at one point when they were playing for Inter Milan this season. I mean, I do think that now Darmian's been converted to a centre back and Dumfries is now back at right back. But Dumfries is 26, 27. He's a very solid player, but for me, I just feel like that he's primary a right wing back. He's very physical, but for a right wing back, he's not very pacey and he's not the quickest. And I do think that he is very decent, but I much rather Wan-Bissaka and Diogo Dalot. That's how much I rate our right backs.
The thing is with myself, that's the reason why I didn't want Frimpong, because I said that he's a right wing back. What's the point? Like, you look at Pedro Porro, he's out. Like, I really like Pedro Porro because I watch Sporting as well, and I said Pedro Porro cannot play in that back four. No. And you've seen all the times he's played in the back four, he was horrendous because he is not a defensive type fullback. Neither is Frimpong, neither is Dumfries. And I think if you are going to be putting somebody into a right back, you need to kind of put them in more in an advanced right back than more than anything. And I just don't. I think there's a reason why the wing backs, not fullbacks.
Yeah.
Because they're not suited to that kind of game, and they're specialised for back three type of managers.
Yeah, exactly. And with wing backs as well, that you can you normally don't play with wingers as well. The wing backs are there to be doing your wide
Yes.
areas of the pitch the entire game. That's their sole purpose. And people really hype up Alphonso Davies, and I might get cancelled for this, but for me, Alphonso Davies, brilliant player, but I don't think he's as good as everyone makes him out to be. Because again, when he was playing for the MLS at the start of his career for Bayern Munich, he was a winger, and he's obviously been converted to a wing back and then now a left back. But he still he's very rapid, and apart from that, I don't think his defensive awareness is as good as everyone makes it out to be. Same with Nuno Mendes for PSG. These players obviously are very highly rated in European football, but again, they're not proper left backs, and that's why players like Kyle Walker and Reece James are so special. Diogo Dalot and Wan-Bissaka. You think back up to Luke Shaw and Tio Hernandez. All these like fullbacks are perfect because they're equally as good as defensively as they are offensively. Where you've got like players like Pedro Porro, like we just mentioned, who are all about attacking and getting forward, but defensively, like Trent Alexander-Arnold. Trent Alexander-Arnold is very criticised with his defending, and he definitely seems to be a more midfield and going forward type player with Trent.
Absolutely, I agree there. Reece said, I still take Timber as a versatile option as a right back and centre back, but Litcher CDM, maybe. I just hope he stays as a centre back. He's our best one. So what else? Ravi has said, question, is De Gea staying? Apparently we're looking at extending his contract. So most likely he is, but he knows he isn't going to be number one. He's not guaranteed it.
There was a report that came out a few days ago, and it was that De Gea apparently rejected an offer from Saudi Arabia. So Saudi Arabia tried getting that. Yeah, so David De Gea has apparently turned around and said that whether he's first choice goalkeeper for Man United or second choice goalkeeper, he wants to stay at Manchester United, which for me you see a lot of De Gea for haters. They've all put on Twitter, you know what, I give him respect for that. So it's clearly he cares about the club, and people criticise David De Gea a lot. But for me, I still rate him as one of the best in the world for shot stopping. I think that he's up there with Thibaut Courtois. And I think that when it comes to shot stopping, they're the two best in the world. And people go on about a distribution, about how it's impossible to learn. It's not. If David De Gea works hard and really works in it, distribution is very easy to learn. Obviously, you've just got to be better on the ball. You've got to be more calculated, and you've just got to be able to ping a ball perfectly. And obviously, David De Gea won't be able to learn that instantly. But people talk about like he's only got one leg and he can actually like pass a ball properly. For me, I feel like with David De Gea, he can learn to be very good when it comes to distribution, and people over criticize him, in my opinion.
I think the thing is I think De Gea is very comfortable in his role, and I think the thing is I've been critical of him. Don't get me wrong. I said if we're gonna get a goalkeeper, I want David Raya. I think he's a fantastic goalkeeper. But I just think for me, if we are gonna keep De Gea, we need that competition because we can't continue to under the same breath as well, he is getting older. I know he's still got a fair few years onto him, and I personally think older goalkeepers can be better, but I just think we need to look at investing for the future. And one going on to the future is Diogo Costa from Porto, and that Man United are finalising a proposal to sign Diogo Costa. I've also heard that apparently Porto are currently in debt, a lot of debt, and they need so much money by the 30th of June. And from what I've read also is that Costa is their most valuable player and will probably want to look at shifting him on to get some funds.
Yeah, I mean, it might not be anything major, but when you think about it as well, United kind of have a decent relationship with Porto. You think back to when we signed Alex Telles, so
Yeah.
we've got them connections, and
Didn't we
Diogo
sign
Costa.
Hello as well from Porto?
I think so, yeah, with Mourinho. You might be
Yeah.
right there. Yeah, I know it was a Portuguese side, but I can't remember if it was Porto or
I'll have a
Benfica.
look.
But with Diogo Costa, I feel like that he's for me. You've said David Raya. I personally feel like Diogo Costa is the one. And
Mhm.
about 2 months ago, I wasn't a fan of Diogo Costa, but after giving some research and watching a few games, like obviously you got these clips on YouTube and stuff, but they only show the positives. If you actually watch him for a full 90 minutes, he averages about, I think on the stats it says he's averaged about 45 passes per game, or per 90 should I say, and it's a 92% pass accuracy. So that's including long balls, and that's for me is absolutely brilliant. So it's clearly something that he is very good at, he's very comfortable with. So definitely
Mhm.
Diogo Costa is one that we could look at, but how much would he cost? He's recently signed a new contract with Porto, so you're looking around 60 million minimum.
Mhm. Yeah, I think from what I've read, his release clause is 70 mil. I watch, as I've already mentioned, I've watched a lot of the Portuguese league, because I do watch a lot of sporting. And if you want me to be honest, I'm not a massive fan of Costa. I understand he's young. He's got plenty of room to improve. I completely get that. I think the thing is a lot of people who, I'm not saying yourself, but a lot of people from the internet who want Costa, I'd say eight. I done a poll. How many games have you watched of Costa? And people put 0 to 2 as the vote. 70% of them, and I probably watched Costa now for about a year or two. And I just think for me is one of the best in the world for his penalties. I will hold my hands up. He is one of the best. Fantastic distribution. I can understand why he was picked for first choice for Portugal in the World Cup. Was it too soon? Yes. But I just think, especially in some games this season and in the World Cup, in his one-on-ones, he gets a bit timid. And I like a goalkeeper, for me, who is fearless, who looks at the opposition and go, "You ain't getting my net." And I don't get them kind of vibes from Costa.
Yeah, I can see that he's not very dominant and very like present based like goalkeeper. I can admit that he's not like Martinez for Aston Villa or an Allison or someone like that. But again, you've hit the nail on the head that he's very good at distribution. He's very good at penalty saves. That's everything that De Gea is not. So realistically, maybe they could complement each other if we signed them both. De Gea could really help him out with his shot stopping, and maybe Costa could help him out with the distribution and penalty saves. So
Mm-hmm.
it's something like they like might balance each other out. And if you was to combine David De Gea's shot stopping and Diogo Costa's distribution, you've got the best goalkeeper in the world there. So
Yeah, absolutely. And especially if you combine both the ages together, you'd have over 10 years.
exactly.
You'd have over 10 years of both of them. But I think for me, is I look at like goalkeepers like Emi Martinez from Aston Villa. Not that I'd take it, but I'd look at his kind of personality. You look at like the personalities of even Nick Pope, and you look at the like David Raya. You look at Rui Patricio as well. You look at them type of goalkeepers, and you think, do I really want to mess with these if I seen them and I want to try and score? No, not really. Yeah, so that is the next link, a goalkeeper, and I know that is, from what I've heard, one of the priorities. Also, and we'll go on to my favourite link of the night, which sorry Julio if you're still watching. Julio didn't want me to touch on this one first, but yeah, Mason Mount. So the recent with Mason Mount, Man United are preparing to make their move for Mason Mount. Chelsea value Mount at 70 mil plus add-ons, which is apparently 10 mil. Yet United are more likely to enter an offer in the region of 50-60 mil. Personally, for me, I'm a massive fan of Mount. I even still think 60 mil is a bit high, personally, for me. Um, but there is some qualities there of Mason Mount, what I think could go beneficial for the Manchester United team.
With Mason Mount, with Mason Mount, obviously the price tag, like you said, about 50, 60 million is probably still a bit too high. With Mason Mount, I do think that Chelsea are currently way overvaluing him. And with like Harry Kane's situation, he's only got 1 year left in his contract. So I would honestly say that I don't know why these clubs are trying to hold on to these players so much. And obviously, well, actually that's a stupid question. You know why? Because they can get a lot of money out of them. And Mason Mount is one of the most underpaid players at Chelsea, believe it or not. He's on still about 60 grand a week. So no wonder he wants this big move. But Chelsea fans that I've spoken to, he's obviously wanting around £300,000 a week. That's how much he's saying. So the Chelsea fans are in outrage about it because, like, you're our homegrown talent, you're supposed to care about the club, and all you want is money. And I feel like Man United would probably offer him that money. United would probably offer him about 200 to 250 grand a week. So I think it's more that Mason Mount is unhappy with the way Chelsea haven't backed him. You mean you've got players like Ruben Loftus-Cheek, like you've got like Aubameyang, you've got these players, Raheem Sterling. All these players are on higher wages than him, so you can understand why he's fuming about it all. So I say that with the price tag, it's very high, but kind of like the United situation with Maguire. United need to make a low transfer, need to set a low transfer budget for Harry Maguire because realistically, no one's going to pay £200,000 a week in wages. So you probably can only get about Maguire for about 20 million. So because Mason Mount's on such low wages, that's why they're probably valuing him so highly. But I still think with 1 year left in his contract, it's probably about 40 million is the maximum I'd pay for him.
Absolutely. Hey there, Torsen, Nippon, and Abib. Sorry, I'm Abib Deleso in the chat. Thank you all for coming in. I agree with Andrew's comment. Work rate, professionalism, clever positioning keeps the ball. For me, with Mason Mount, there's a couple of things you need to look at. One, the success he has had in the last 5 years. Champions League winner. First of all, he's won the Super Cup, he's won the FIFA World Cup. You look at, he's been back-to-back finals of the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup. He was a part of that success there in the Euros. So you look at them kind of qualities, and you look at as well at Erik ten Hag's Ajax team, not the first one, the second one, the one with Alvarez and Martinez and Antony in. Ten Hag used the 4-2-3-1, but in the pivot, he had a lone defensive midfielder, and the pivot was 2 10s. And I think what he would do with Mason Mount, because he's a very versatile player, he could play as an 8, he could play as a 10, he could play as a right winger. Offers plenty of competition there for Bruno, who I think is very comfortable in his role. Offers plenty of competition there for Antony, because he has had a fair few injuries this season. And also, it gives Eriksen a bit of a rest. And I think to play him in the 2 10s, I think it will work really, really well with that right-hand side, because I think at time to time, but I just think sometimes you can just see all the work being just done by the winger and the fullback, and I think that offers a bit more leeway for them, and I think it offers them some more creativity too.
Yeah, I mean, with United as a whole, I mean, me and my granddad pretty much watch every single game together. And we always say every game that what goal actually goes wrong with Man United recently, and that's not because it's not down to the players, it's not down to the tactics, it's actually the positioning of the players. It's like you never see another player moving into space and helping out the player to find that extra pass. Everyone sticks to their positions. I mean, you look at Man City, for example, you'll have Julian Alvarez next to Kevin De Bruyne and then Erling Haaland far up top. And then out of nowhere, Julian Alvarez will sprint forward and then Kevin De Bruyne will cover both their marks and then they'll help find a pass and stuff. And I feel like United need to kind of work on that. But obviously, we're still a new team. We're still building chemistry and stuff. But hopefully next season, we actually kind of see this because Mason Mount, a very, like you said, very versatile player, can play multiple positions. Obviously, being in that number 10 is that primary position, but having them other default positions as well is very good. And it's something we like. I mean, I don't rate Eriksen. I personally feel like that Eriksen isn't a good player. And I think that he's a defensive liability, and he's one that can't play in that extra number 10 role. So for me, I feel like that Mason Mount would be a good sign. And I'm looking at it like, not that I don't want Mason Mount, it's the fact that he's an upgrade on what we currently have. Same with Adrian Rabiot, same with Kim Min Jae. Every player we're probably going to sign this season is an upgrade on what we've already got. So fans saying, "Oh, I don't want this player, I don't want this player, I don't want this player." Mason Mount is better than Ericsson, McTominay, Fred, Van de Beek, on par with Bruno, let's say. And for me, I feel like that you need competition, and people go like, "Oh, why do Man City like look at Man City's bench? Their second team probably win the league or get top four." Yeah, because they've got very good players. United, if we was to sign like Harry Kane and Kim Min Jae, our starting 11 will probably be one of the best in the league. But then it's our bench. That's where United fail throughout the season because our bench isn't strong enough. So for me, Mason Mount is one of them signings to go to the next level. Obviously, we're currently here, but Mason Mount will just take you a bit further. And then a Harry Kane will take you here, Kim Min Jae here, and then eventually you're much better than what you currently were.
And again, with people comparing City's bench to our team, City didn't get that team overnight. It took, even though Pep inherited a fantastic team, it still took him years to get the team that he has got now. He didn't sign Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, Haaland, and Alvarez, and Ake, and Ruben Diaz in the same transfer window. That would be impossible. I know there's already so many FFP breaches of Man City, but they're not going to be that silly, I believe, surely, to be caught out so easily.
Yeah, I agree on that. And you've pretty much hit the nail on the head. I don't have anything else to add on that, to be honest.
Yeah. With that, we will wrap it up. Mate, I don't know about you, Dan, but I cannot see any of the comments on this stream past 8:30.
No, I had a look on the chat before and nothing's come through, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's still coming through on YouTube. So if people think I am ignored, I'm not. I'm still watching through YouTube, but I just can't bring up the comments. So I am sorry that has been the case. But from that, we will wrap it up. Thank you, Dan, for coming on. Would you like to shout out your socials?
Yeah, thank you. So this is my Twitter, which is Red Devils TV MUFC, and then I have a United YouTube channel as well called Red Devils TV, and a TikTok where I have to do more short type content. But yeah, if you could please leave me a sub, that'd be brilliant. I'm on the road to 700 subscribers, so yeah, if you could subscribe, that'd be brilliant. So yeah, thank you, Maisy, for having me.
You're very welcome. I've put your link in the description. I've tagged you in the actual show and stuff. So if you haven't already, go and subscribe to Dan's channel. I believe he's on the road to 700 subscribers. So go and check that out. Go check out his channel. I'll be next live as well on Sunday for the player profile of Hannibal Menjabe. I've got a Birmingham fan on for that, so you can check that out. And next week I've got my Premier League team of the season and also a player profile on Fernandez at his time at Preston North End with a Preston North End fan. So go and check that out. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Do the same for Dan. Take care, everyone. Have a lovely evening. Bye bye.